You've tuned into the Bellingham Podcast for the week of May 24th, Memorial Day 2020. This is episode Rewound 154. From that slightly opening up city by the Salish Sea, I am AJ Barce.
Stretching my wings in 98226, I am Chris Powell. On this episode, we are still continuing the Quarantine Chronicles from remote distances, meaning AJ's recording from his house, I'm recording from my house. And we are continuing the conversation about life here in Bellingham, and big shout out of appreciation for all those who have given their lives in defense of this country and for all those who have been in active duty. We salute you from this, as you all aware of, the Bellingham Podcast.
Couldn't have said it better, Chris. How we doing?
I could say it a lot better, but it was kind of off the cuff. But I'm doing just fine. It's a wonderful opportunity to have a 3-day weekend. Personally and professionally, I need a break. I wish it wasn't because of remembering so many people who gave their lives so that I can yammer on a microphone for 154 episodes. But very thankful for what we've got. How about you, AJ? How you doing?
Feeling thankful, and also feeling thankful that it is a 3-day weekend. Just wish it was on a better subject, but
yes.
Yeah.
And for those of you who tuned into the previous episode in your podcast feed, you heard an outstanding interview that AJ had with the HOSA hot sauce company. And golly, that was a great interview. I was unfortunately, in parts unknown, in classified conditions, black ops, if you will, because that's my favorite color. But to Andy and Jacob, the fine stewards of the HOSA hot sauce, well done. Great to have you part of our Bellingham podcast story. Thanks for joining us. And if I may, you are the goods, unlike AJ's attempt to try to imitate me, but not just because of the cool hot sauce and the minimalist ingredients, but also you invoked the name Megadeth.
Megadeth!
You get a tip of my hat. Exactly. No, great job, AJ. That was a good interview.
Yeah, that was just serendipity, dude. Kind of bummer that you were kind of decommissioned last week. But yeah, if you're listening to this and you're going, why is this 154? Wasn't last week 155? That was because Chris and I were just busy, couldn't record, and I had planned it for 155, and quite frankly, I didn't want to re-record at the intro, so it just stood.
There you go. And you know what? Money back guarantee for all of these podcasts, right?
Money back guarantee. You get what you paid for, and last time I checked, our show is free. So
yes, exactly. Moving on, but anyway, big shout out to HOSA, even on this episode too. I was thinking, with their minimalist name that they chose, hot sauce, and make it HOSA, we should call this Bell Pod. If we really want Bell Pod.
B-Pod.
B-Pod, that's it. With the umlauts on the O, like
with the double umlauts. Yep.
That's right. Anyway, in this current season that we're in Washington State, masks are in, if you will. And both AJ and I may have mentioned it on a previous episode, but there's a wonderful manufacturer of backpacks and other carry goods down south, I believe in Seattle, named Tom Bean, B-I-H-N. Well, guess what? They're now in the mask making business. And I threw down on a paltry, unlucky $13 to get a lucky mask that was in all black. Love Same it. Here. And to Arlene, the lady who made my original mask, I still enjoy it. Thank you very much. But this reusable cloth face mask, it's a really cool thing Tom Bean's doing, because when you buy one, they give one away. Who did they say they were giving them away to?
They give them to frontline workers in healthcare. I don't know if they specified exactly whom, but it's just you get one for $13, and part of those proceeds go to them making one for frontline workers. I mean, it was a get one for you and get one for the frontline. That's really cool.
Yeah. And did we mention it's in all black?
Yes. Oh, you can get it in blue. My wife got hers in blue. So navy, I believe, is the color.
Fair enough, but for me, there is no other color. So check out TomBean.com.
Black is a shade. It's not a color. It's a shade.
It's what we throw each other every now and then. But anyway, what else be going on around Bellingham for you?
Just two things. So one via KGMI, and this dated back to May 13th. Just be on the lookout if we've talked about, if you're getting out on the trails and stuff. Apparently there was a cougar sighting in our neck of the woods.
And we're not talking about someone from Washington State, for that matter. This is
No,
yes.
This is not no wazoo here. No, a local state game warden confirmed that there was a cougar sighting right here in Bellingham. And the reason why I wanted to bring it up is one of the reports came in from Whatcom Falls Park, which, given that it's a 3-day weekend and families, I just wanted to bring it up on the show. Should you be, taking the kiddos out and stuff, and if you're walking around the falls, just keep an eye out. Make sure your spider senses are on, just in case.
As my wife and I walk our dog frequently around our area, which is a hop, skip, and a jump away from Whatcom Falls, but around the zone, if you will. My head is on a proverbial swivel because we've got a cute little dog who is a definite target for animals such as the cougs, if you will. So just be aware out there. Keep listening. Don't have both AirPods in your ears. Keep one open just to be able to hear what might be coming.
Yep. And the other thing is actually just, I don't want to say breaking news because we're not a news show, but if we were,
we do a heck of a lot better.
Starting today, which Chris and I are recording here on May 22nd. If you're here in Whatcom County, there is a directive from Whatcom County stating that everyone in the county is directed to wear a face covering of some sort, whether you're indoors or outdoors and for public spaces, and also keeping your 6 feet distance and such. I have a link in the show notes if you want to actually see the directive, because that just came out earlier today at this time of this recording.
Absolutely. And, just to be able to be a conscientious neighbor to all those around us, that would be a great thing to do. And depending on what kind of mask you got, you can jazz it up with my favorite color of black.
So yeah, that wraps up our local-ish segment for the episode.
At least, but we do have something of other Bellingham interest. Yep. It's the podcast Bingo, at least how the Bellingham podcast calls it this way.
Yeah, so we started this bit 2 episodes ago, and this is where Chris and I are putting together a little local bingo board of our favorite restaurants and places to get good grub that we hope that you're supporting your local food industries and stuff by keeping them, throwing them some cashola should you be able to in your budget before going to the big chain type of places to get your grub. Chris, what do you got for this week?
My bingo card is in the B column, B42, and the B stands for, boy, this is tasty. There's a place that used to be known as the Grace Cafe on Sunset Square. As you take a hairpin turn type on James Street, blasting by Sunset Square. It's now called the Latitude Kitchen and Bar. They are a drive-through in this current era. Tasty food. I had the American Kobe burger, and it was darn tasty, and just really, really friendly folks at the drive-through window on their website. And do be careful about joining or clicking on their website. It's currently HTTP. It doesn't have the S in there, so some web browsers may balk at that. But yeah. You know what? Latitude is specializing in food as opposed to web design. However, on their front page, I happened to spy that on Monday night, kids eat free. For every $12 that you purchase for food, you can receive any one kids meal for free. What a great deal to be able to take care of your kiddo and get some excellent grub as well. So there's an online menu that we got a link to for the love of Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. Drink and eat in this case, but to be able to check out Latitude Kitchen and Bar. AJ, where is your restaurant bingo spot?
Well, mine is going to be F18.
There is no F in bingo.
In ours, we are. We have a lot of kitchens we're going to plug, buddy.
Get the F out. It's either BINGO.
See, this is how we keep our show clean. See, as we use letters.
I think it should be in the I column for what you got going on. But anyway, please continue.
We'll do the I column. I was doing F for Fairhaven because I'm still down on South Bellingham here. So I is going to Iron Rooster. They're about 2 doors down from the first pick that I had, which is Magdalena's Creperie. And the Iron Rooster, well, first of all, they're the goods. Second of all, they are doing a door pickup service. So they've got a menu. If you go to their website, it's just going to say to go to their social media, whether that be the Facebook or Instagram, with the most accurate and updated information. They do have a menu published for May 23 and May 24 for this weekend. Get there early. If they say they open their doors at 10 a.m., which I know they do, you better get there about 15 minutes or so beforehand, because I will tell you, we went there for Mother's Day weekend because my wife wanted one thing and one thing alone, and that was the best pain au chocolat, that's croissant with chocolate in the center, and Iron Rooster's got it in spades. So we went down, and they said they opened up their doors at 10 o'clock. We were there at 9:50, Chris. There was a line all the way back to the inn at Fairhaven.
I can imagine, based on the quality and of the food available, and when you're talking about bakery, hey, we're in Fairhaven to be able to do that. I got an idea, though, if I might propose a potential plan. Okay. Because I'm always thinking about the single folks in listening in. If you were to go take park over by Village Books and Big Love Juice and Oven Pizza and stuff like that, kind of in that Fairhaven zone, take the Taylor Dock walk over to Boulevard, get some steps in the morning. Let's just say 8:30. Because it's a nice hour stroll. When you come back, or when you reemerge, you'll have enough time to stand in line, and you will have worked on enough calories to be able to indulge in the Iron Rooster Bakery goods that they have offered. Just an idea to be able to compensate for that deliciousness.
No, totally, and it's delectable. Like I said, their pain au chocolat is by far the best that we've had this side of our country. There's some other places around our United States that my wife and I have been to that have comparable to Paris. They're pretty close. I would say they're 9 out of 10. So like I said, if you're craving, if your comfort food comes in a baked good, take a look at Iron Rooster down in Fairhaven. They're the goods.
And if you also have any kind of comfort food, you might be wanting to listen to some fabulous tunes over the air at KMRE, a 102.3 FM dial here in Bellingham.
And they're community powered, and they're also streaming at kmre.org. You read my mind, Chris.
I know. I'm hungry. Once I get pastry goods on the brain. Oh, by the way, I happen to do a little bit of spying on various social media outlets. No, I'm not really doing a lot of social media for a reason. We could talk about that later. But I heard that there's a sign outside of a door of a fabulous place here in town that they might be reopening June 1st at 6 a.m.
What is this?
La Fine's Donuts. La Fine's Donuts.
La Fine's. The best donuts in town, because everybody else is gone.
Yes, but I heard, depending on when you're listening to this, a wonderful selection. Oh my goodness, 6 a.m. You might see a friendly voice there.
Oh yeah.
With a groggy eye and no caffeine, getting your daily fix of donuts. Coming soon.
Okay, so this next bit is what's going on at home or at our home offices currently. For me, Chris, I finally got in. So I've got my full wireless setup. I've got my wireless headphones. I've got my wireless keyboard, which I absolutely love, which was the Logitech that we talked about last episode that you and I chatted. And then I finally got the replacement mouse to that O motion that kind of wiggied out on me, and I got the Logitech Pro, which is also branded the M720 Triathlon. And boy howdy, Chris, I feel like I got the Ferrari of mice, if that's a thing.
The Cadillac of mice.
The Maserati of mousing, okay? That is what this is. The ergonomics of it are pretty good. It's got like a side groove for your thumb so that your hand is, elevated at proper ergo, blah, blah, blah. But the thing that this thing just totally kills is the fact that you have all these customizable buttons. Like they have what's called their gesture button. So you actually press this side button that you can barely even see, and you can pull down, and that will act like swipes from your laptop. So if you're doing on the Mac, like reveal your desktop, or on a PC, you want to show what your active apps are, you can program that based off of click, drag up, click, drag right, click, drag left. Which I didn't know was a thing, and it's really helpful. There's a series of 3 buttons across the side above your thumb, which you can use as like your forward and back buttons for browsing, but who does that? Instead, I have them programmed for screenshots because of our industry that we're in. So I can quickly do a screenshot capture by clicking one of the buttons. The other button I have set up so that it will show my desktop so I can access my files really fast. And the last one is, again, it's a pairing. So you can pair this to 3 different devices simultaneously, including iOS. I tested it on the new iOS that allows for mice. And using a mouse on an iOS device is kind of cool. But it also has I'll call it a clutch wheel, where you can push this button down and it will free spin the mouse wheel, as opposed to having it stopped with clicks. Which is something that's nice for design work. The other thing that I'll throw this out, and this was the other reason why, as much as I love the aesthetic of like low-free and all the other cool mechanical keyboards that I was kind of trying to get into, the thing that Logitech does really well is the software support. Their Logitech Options app is what they call it, has this cool feature called Flow. It gives you the customizability for the buttons and stuff. But what it also does is, if you have cross-platform, like you and I typically do, we have a Mac and a PC doing our work, it is a pain to switch, or if you have to drag, if you're trying to move files between things and you're on, it's a pain. What Flow allows you to do is you can map the Bluetooth to both the devices, because it has 3 channels. So as you switch between the devices, Flow will notice that you're moving to the left or to the right of your main computer, and auto toggle to that next display. So it's almost fluid. You can go from one screen on a Mac to a PC screen, and you can copy and paste files. So it kind of has like AirDrop if you're used to Mac OS. I basically can move Mac and PC files through my Wi-Fi just by copy and paste, and Logitech knows where it goes. It's really been helpful with my workflow.
Sounds like it can be a great enhancer to many work from home setups. How much ballpark, depending on where you might locate it, would this M720 triathlon run someone?
It's like I said, it's the Maserati, in my opinion, of mice. It was about 30 to 40 bucks.
Okay, well that's reasonable.
Yeah.
I would say,
yeah.
for a mouse standpoint.
Yeah. So, it was about, I think it was like 35 bucks or something like that. It runs on Bluetooth, or it does have it does have the ability for Logitech's unified receiver if you're in that ecosystem. I'm not. I just use it over Bluetooth. Yeah. What about you, Chris? What's new in your home office?
Got my standing desk pretty much locked in with all the accessories. I got a little bit of a cable management system here. I'm really enjoying just how things are set up. I'm very deliberate and minimal and draconian about what is allowed to be put on my work surface. If I bring something on there, I take it off. It's just, I got it in an 8-hour standing desk. Didn't think I could do that, but with a carpeted floor and the right angle for my 6'3" frame, I have everything set up, and no carpal tunnel threats. It's just working nicely. So not too many toys or gadgets or things per se, but just enjoying the workspace that I currently have here in the quasi office zone in my home. So and I think that would lead into nicely as far as some new things that caught our eye since the last recording we did. Have this workspace, and I often will write things down for lists, things to remember, just because of the surface and the surface space that I have. I happen to, I've mentioned this fella in the past. His name is Patrick Rohn. He is one of my influences, a fabulous fella from Minnesota. He's written 6 books. He's got successful websites, one of which is called thecramped.com, cramped as in past tense. The Cramped is a writing site, a writing blog site about the analog side of things. And he happened to, once again, take that sledgehammer, like that Gallagher sledgehammer in the carnival, and slam it down. And that little thing went up to the top and dinged the bell. It was a dead shot, awesome essay. It's called Please Print, a Journaling Rant. And pretty much, the gist of it, it's about a 5-minute read, as are most essays. But what resonated with me is that as he mentioned, we are documenting or journaling our experiences in this 2020 pandemic. Mm-hmm. And if you want to share this information with future generations or your grandkiddos when that time comes, should that occur, you may not want to be doing this in a digital format. Why? Because per Patrick's sage wisdom, a lot of old technology is no longer compatible and no longer accessible. He made mention to having a lot of his writings on zip disks. Remember those?
Oh, yeah.
iOmega called, they want their zip disks back. And basically, the apps that we have, do you think they'll be around in 20 years? Do you think they'll be around in 10 years? So
do you think they'll be there after the lockdowns? And we go back to
normal? That's a very good thing. Yeah. I mean, a lot of these apps that are making the headlines that we might be downloading and using, will they stand the test of time? Here's something that'll stand the test of time, boys and girls: paper and ink. And while we've talked about this before, it finally, hit me as like, okay, I've been a data hoarder. I collect so much data and so many articles, so many pieces of information, to be able to transfer them onto something that can be around for a long time. Good quality paper, good quality ink. This is the new project, to be able to, just take a little bit out of the Apple Notes repository ad nauseum and put that onto a nicely formatted. I have to be deliberate in using my best penmanship, which normally is horrible, but it gives me a practice in taking time to make sure I'm spelling everything correctly and, within the margins, if you will. So sure. Great article. And I've got a couple links to what I'm currently using. I really like the simplicity, even though it's not my favorite color. Midori has an MD grid notebook, A5 size, which is pretty much 5x8 or so. But it is white, which is great because this is the opposite of my black thing life. I always invest in things that are black, but this one is a beautiful notebook, and with some Staedtler pigment liner pens. I go for the 0.3 millimeter version because I like to write small, and I'm left-handed, and it doesn't smear when I right across the page. So anyway, that's what I've been really diving into as coming up for a summer project. Let me get rid of all the digital clutter that I've been saving, and let's put it into paper format so I can review it and enjoy it later on. AJ, turn the page on my rant. What are you seeing that's kind of new in your life?
I just have two things. One is, it's actually a reboot of something that we mentioned on our show probably 50, 60, 70 episodes back. It's an American-based company called Trellis & Co. And Trellis & Co. is a family-owned business by a bioengineer living on a homestead in somewhere in the remotest areas of the lower 48. Trellisandcompany.com. I mentioned them before as I bought their cold brew coffee kit. A buddy of mine and friend of the show, Dan, he got me kind of hooked up on like cold brew and toddy coffees and stuff. And so I got this original kit where it's basically this meshing that you sit into a big, I think it's like a 2,000 milliliter ball canning jar. So the big, I don't remember how many pints that is. It's several pint glasses ball canning jar. And you set that in there and you put your grinds in there and you set it overnight, and that would make your cold brew. Well, lately I've been kind of shifting away from cold brew to just doing iced tea, just because it's, I've just been in a tea mood. Maybe I'm harnessing my another friend of the show, Dan, over in the UK. Maybe I'm harnessing my inner British personality here. But so basically, if you take this kit, this cold brewing kit, all you need to do is just swap out the grinds with your loose leaf tea. And so I've been taking several of my loose leaf teas, whether it's from here at Wonderland Teas here in Bellingham, or Granville Island when you and I went up there and we got several pounds of tea from Granville Island up in BC. You just throw in the jar kit that they supply. I basically take 1 heaping teaspoon of loose leaf tea and then sweeten to taste, whether that's honey or if you're doing succinant or sugar or whatever, and just let it brew for about 5 minutes at the most because you don't want it to get bitter. Take that entire metal strainer straight out of the jar, top it off with some extra water, cap it, throw it in your fridge and let it chill. And you got, basically iced tea on tap, as it were. And so that's just my recommendation is if you've been trying to, a lot of people have been doing a lot of homemade stuff like homemade bread making and homemade kombucha and all this other jazz. If you just want something simple or you don't know where to start with the whole homemade craze right now, and if you like tea, start with just making iced tea. So that's kind of my first recommendation.
I actually had a chance to sample some of Granddad AJ's tea on a sunny Saturday afternoon in recent memory, and it was darn tasty. Served to me in the little tiny mason jars or the little mason glasses. There's a little bit of a personal touch. I think that's what the theme that we're touching base on now in this episode, or an underlying theme. The HOSA hot sauce fellas, that's the customized, personalized batch, if you will. Same thing with Granddad AJ's iced tea. I got your product name for you, baby.
Granddad's iced tea.
That's right.
So get off my lawn, Chris. Stay 6 feet away. So
I was tasting it 6 feet away. Yes.
Hence why the mason jar. I even brought it to you capped. So anyway, the other recommendation I have is, I mentioned a couple episodes back that the Washington State Parks Foundation does every month this Washington Camp In, where they have a live stream where usually there's programmatic activities on this live stream for like kids and families, and it just encourages you to get out, whether that's going on a trail hike or pitching a tent in the backyard or front yard or wherever. And so kind of dovetailing back into that, because I am Mr. Get the Heck Out, I just want to, if you're looking for a cool family activity, and this actually harkens back to a story for my childhood. I had a buddy of mine, Scott. He he was really big into wanting to find, like any other kid out in the woods. We wanted to go find like treasure, right? So at a young age, his folks hooked him up with the big burly metal detectors of yesteryear, the ones with the big flying saucer on the bottom, and took like 6 triple D batteries, and it weighed like a bajillion pounds. And I think we found like 1 bottle cap that entire summer. Nowadays, if that is your impression of metal detectors, you are greatly out of date. I found this company called MineLab, MINELAB, all one word, and they have this series of metal detectors called GoFind, and I specifically got my kiddo the GoFind 11. It's collapsible, it's super lightweight, so much so that my 3.5 going on 4-year-old can carry this thing and go beep beep with it. Although he prefers to dig, so Dad's been beeping it, and he's been digging. But
nothing wrong with that. It's
right?
Good labor.
He's closer to the ground. It's great. I don't have to bend over. Yes. It's great. So what's cool about this GoFind series is the fact that it is collapsible and it's adjustable. So if you have littles, this is something that they can grow into later. You're not buying a toy. It's a legit metal detector. We took it down to the lake and just on the shore, and lo and behold, he found 2 sets of keys that we're going to be turning into Whatcom County's, lost and found, because they're legitimate. Like, one's a key to like an apartment, the other one's like to a safety deposit box or something. Wow. We found bottle caps and junk, just like, when treasure hunting dad here goes into the rivers and lakes and dives for treasure and just pulls up junk. So he's kind of getting into the ethos of like, hey, if you're out in the outdoors, humans are disgusting. If you can, clean it up. And if you can find treasure, cool. If you're looking for a fun activity, and, if you're not the camping type, or maybe you listen to the show and you're just like, yeah, I don't have a tent, or I can't pitch a tent because I'm in downtown Bellingham, that would look weird. hey, maybe find one of these lightweight collapsible metal detectors. This one was like just a hair over $100. And go treasure hunting, and just get out and see what beeps underneath your feet.
Great way of putting it. And with this, the summer season coming up, you got beaches all over the place. Head up north to Birch Bay, head up north to Semiahmoo. Go check out a place, and who knows what you might find. You actually might unearth something of insane value, marketable value, but it's all part of the fun.
Yeah, doubtful, but you can keep that in the back of your mind. I mean, I've been waiting for my Indiana Jones moment, Chris. I just haven't had it.
Yeah, keep waiting. It'll happen soon. Don't worry, they're hotshot. It'll be fine. But it's a great idea for the kiddos to get them interested in what might be lurking underneath.
Right. So yeah, so that's my recommendation there. What about so this is our last segment, and that is this part of the podcast is for your quality assurance.
Absolutely.
What do you got,
I like the intro, but we got to work on it just to get a little bit more, maybe a musical thing. I don't know. We'll work on that. We got these little sections. What do I got? It's been out since 2018, this book. So, for a few years now, I've been following a blogger, a photographer named C.J. Chilvers. And C.J. Chilvers originally was an award-winning author of the Van Halen Encyclopedia. And so a whole lot of information about one of my favorite bands. However, he's also a photographer. And in 2018, he compiled a number of essays and called it A Lesser Photographer. And AJ, this may, ring some of your f-stop bells, but it's a great look from a practical, use what you have, no, I want to keep it clean, no guff, approach to photography and actually life in what you're doing. Collecting information is easy, said C.J. Chilvers. Reviewing and applying information is hard. A lot of Zen,
Agreed.
A lot of wise information in here. Well, it's in the second edition. There's been some changes and updates, and I'm realizing that to purchase an ebook, which is what I did back in 2018. I want to get the analog version, and I want to support someone on Patreon. There's other folks on Patreon, not just you, AJ Barce, who can be located at patreon.com/AJ Barce. But he does have a chance for people to sponsor his work. And I just found that to be a really good, refreshing, it's kind of like the evergreen information. It stands the test of time. It's not like Microsoft Windows XP is the tool that you will need to be able to accomplish your technology stuff, as we're talking about old technology and how that won't be around. A lot of what he talks about, CJ that is really evergreen in nature. AJ, how about yourself?
I just have a video recommendation, especially for families. A lot of my picks are family centered because it is a 3-day weekend, and I'm just kind of helping those that are, much like myself, that might have a tot that's going a little bit stir crazy. There's a video that I just stumbled upon it, and it's called Pip, and it's made like a Pixar film, and you saw a clip of it. And you can find it up on the YouTube, and it's made by the Southeastern Guide Dogs Academy group. I'm not too sure what their affiliation is, but it's just about this little pup and his heroic escalade that helped him kind of get through Dog Training Academy. I'll just leave it like that because I don't want to spoil it, but the animation is just killer. Like, you look at this and you go, this could have been a short from Pixar. And my tot saw it, and man, like, for the better part of the morning, he just wanted to be like, a super dog type of a thing. And yeah, it's just a heartwarming thing. And it's not even 4.5 minutes long, and just another piece of original content. So I just wanted to throw it out. So on that quick hit, I think we should probably stick a fork in it. I rhymed.
I concur, Doctor. Make it so.
That wraps it up for this 154th edition of the Bellingham Podcast. Thank you again so much for listening to us, rating us, reviewing us, wherever you like to get your podcast. Remember, if you are in the Bellingham area, you may or may not, because we are coming out of lockdown, you might be listening to us on KMRE 102.3 FM.
Community powered, and they're streaming all over the darn place at kmre.org.
And on that note, have a great 3-day weekend, everyone, and stay safe. I'm AJ Barsay.
And I'm Chris Powell. Thank you once again for joining us on the Bellingham podcast.
I miss you.
Yeah, it's been way too long. We got to find some way to do some a social distancing podcast next episode or something.